I don't know about you guys, but I for one love watching Overwatch over on Twitch. It's completely raw emotions and reactions to a game that, quite frankly, can be very divisive. It's almost like Twitter, but with gameplay. Anyway, I couldn't help but notice that a bunch of my favorite streamers are currently, and in fact since a while, having a really bad time streaming Overwatch. And I figured that after my involuntary break from making videos due to illness, taking a look at something that makes them sick was beautifully ironic. There are most certainly obvious and less obvious parts of this discussion, and I'm sure that a lot of you would immediately point at the meta that, according to many streamers, is only getting worse. And if the meta's not fun, streaming the game is not fun either. But if you are interested in some behind the scenes discussion on why just take a break forehead is in fact terrible advice, and why doing viewer games or playing something else entirely does not fix the problem, you might get a kick out of today's video. Who knows, maybe a streamer actually sent you to this video to avoid having that discussion for the 700th time, trying to explain why things just are not that simple. I know that Metro has been doing that a lot recently. But anyway, enough intro, let's finally get right into it. So, what's the problem? You are not entirely wrong when saying that balance is a major factor in this equation. The most popular type of stream on Twitch when it comes to Overwatch is the competitive variant, and competition needs balance. A huge part of the audience is there to see ranked gameplay specifically, and as such, the content creators feel obligated to provide exactly that. And since they spent the whole day streaming themselves playing ranked, they add a lot of hours of gameplay to their experience very quickly. As such, a lot of them are high-ranked players. They invest their time to get better, and they also get invested in the competition. Some of the first people complaining about terrible meta trends and awful bounce patches are in fact streamers. And while YouTubers would certainly be up there to complain with them if we didn't have to edit these goddamn videos, fact of the matter is that they cannot avoid the issue. If the game is in a terrible state from a competitive standpoint, then they don't have a lot of options besides just, well, suffering through it. The audience wants to see competitive gameplay, and funnily enough, a decent chunk of their viewers watches them play so they don't have to play themselves, because of the aforementioned terrible balancing. Overwatch is most definitely a very addicting game, and it can be very fun at the best of times, but also very painful at the worst of it. A lot of players end up sharing this love-hate relationship where even if they can't stomach playing the game, they still want to watch somebody else play it. So is that all there's to it? Streamers are currently having a bad time because of poor balance? Not entirely. Specifically when it comes to Overwatch, perfect balance is not something that I believe the devs can achieve, and maybe they shouldn't. Quite frankly, I find a lot of perfectly symmetrical and balanced games to be boring. Overwatch is fun because it is brave enough to combine many different types of mechanics. But with them deciding to do that, they also make it very difficult to find a good middle ground between fun and balance. And that's what I would personally be pointing at. The game does not have to be perfectly balanced, but if it is still fun, then players are more willing to accept the imbalances, and that is simply not the case right now. On top of currently suffering from poor balance, the game is also just not very fun to play. The developers have added more and more mechanics, primarily crowd control, that takes away from the fun that you could still be having despite its unbalanced competitive state. Naturally, if you try hard enough, you can lead all these points back to meta play. If the meta pushes heroes into the spotlight that are very oppressive and unfun to play against, like it is the case right now, then you get the mix of imbalance and lack of fun that I've been talking about this entire time. Any given meta will always put certain streamers at a disadvantage depending on which heroes they play. But recently, the game has been in a spot where it seems like barely anyone can have fun no matter what they decide to play. But these things affect us in the same way they affect the streamers. So what's the difference, you might be asking? Well, any tiny problem in the game feels exponentially worse the more you are exposed to it. A streamer that by nature spends upwards of 6 hours live streaming a single game will notice a lot more flaws in the game than your average player, and they will be more bothered by it due to sheer exposure. It's like having a really crappy car. Sure, you're not too bothered by it if you only use it for an hour a day to get to and back from work, but if your job is to drive it 8 hours a day, then the craptasticness of your car becomes a lot more bothersome. That is why they are the first to complain about problems in the game. They are constantly exposed to it due to the profession they have chosen. You remember how I said that a lot of them are high-ranked players just due to how much time they spend playing the game and getting better? No, it's another problem that is exclusive to the top 1%, disgustingly long queue times, particularly in the DPS slot. You see, we have always had the problem of smurfing players not caring, people throwing, and whatever else have you, on top of the idea of terrible meta trends not being new to us. But if it takes you upwards of 20 minutes to find a game, then again, all these things just feel so much worse. Where usually you would have just said GG go next, now now that next game is gonna take a while to roll around. Overwatch has become much more difficult to stream when viewers get bored during these long queue times and decide to hop between streamers to find out who's actually currently playing a match. The natural consequence of that, as I've explored in a different video, is that they start smurfing. They are there to play the game and entertain an audience, and if that is made easier by playing on new accounts all the time to dodge queue times, then that is simply what's going to happen. After all, Blizzard does not care about smurfing, so why should they? I mean, I guess I could also add the plat chat factor to the mix, where it can get really annoying to have an audience of backseat gamers trying to tell you how to play the game, but really, at least in the streams I'm watching, that does not actually happen all that often anymore. And I feel like a lot of streamers have gotten really good at just ignoring it, and thus it doesn't seem to bother them that much anymore. To conclude this portion, I should also mention that Overwatch, as a spectator game, has gotten increasingly difficult to watch. To quote Crook from a conversation I had with him on Discord about it, I had enough of asking what the hell is going on. The game hurts my eyes most days and the visuals are way too much, even for a colorful game. I mean, look at this clip. If you are watching this live without the option to go back in the replay, then finding out what the hell is happening amidst this color vomit is actually genuinely difficult. And as he said, it can get very annoying as well. Another one I would like to highlight is Kelvin saying, much like 2 cups, 1 girl, 2 shields and 1 match is just as horrific and gross to watch. There are a couple more replies I got on the topic on Twitter as well. Metro quoted, bad people being boosted by easy to play heroes that are also meta without the possibility to carry games on any DPS hero being his main frustration. And it makes sense, especially when you play DPS. One of the cool things about it used to be that you can pull off crazy impactful plays if you are mechanically skilled enough. And the recent meta trends just did not lend themselves to that sort of individual impact. And those are the types of plays that add the pog champs to the chat and get viewers excited about watching, as well as the streamer excited about playing and getting better. Now, I don't want to pretend that there is not some level of entitlement involved in a few of these complaints. While you could always argue that, hey, you chose this job, just suck it up, you're playing video games for a living, I feel like that is a very one-dimensional way of looking at it. Very often, a lot of the things that streamers advocate for actually also help the average player. They are in favor of consistent matchmaking and fun meta trends that, in large, is supposed to make playing the game more enjoyable at the end of the day, whether you play competitively or casually. Naturally, there are some outlandish things out there. Like, you can't expect to be at the top 1% of players, want to play the most popular role in the game, demand short queue times, and also get up in arms over seeing lower ranked players in your game. Sometimes when spending all day playing Overwatch, they forget that they are in the minority. There isn't a rank specifically for people who play 8 hours a day, and if there was, there wouldn't be enough of them out there to make for short queue times anyway. Your average master or GM player just is not as good as your average full-time streamer because they don't play the game for a living. So demanding that they should immediately be D-ranked is obviously nonsensical because really, at the end of the day, it just makes the queue times even longer. And that too is something you constantly hear complaints about. There is something to be said about how meta heroes negatively affect the ladder in the long run by allowing access to higher ranks with very little mechanical effort and game knowledge for sure, but that is a way more nuanced conversation. It's a conversation that a lot of them are very aware of, and they would reference to it when they were to have an actual discussion about it. But more often than not, due to how frustrating Overwatch can be, a lot of them are venting. They don't always mean what they say in the moment, and they very often don't actually believe things to be one-dimensional. It's just that a lot of frustration can pent up throughout their 8-hour gaming sessions, being exposed to problems that have not been addressed for literal years. What is supposed to be a give and take sort of relationship with Blizzard ends up being a one-way free promotion situation in favor of Activision. Yes, you can obviously claim that their career has been built on the game, but ultimately they are still part of the PR machine that fuels the longevity of the game, whether they like it or not. Because switching games is actually very difficult in both cases of Twitch and YouTube. In my case, I could not cover another game if I wanted to because YouTube has already categorized me as an Overwatch channel, and my subscribers are here to watch that game. If I make a video on Apex Legends, for example, and my subscribers don't click on that video because they don't care for the game, then YouTube is going to assume that this is a bad video, and as such, never send it out to an audience that would be interested in Apex Legends content. And that is made worse by the fact that my channel is already fairly small and does not rack up a lot of views. I would have to completely stop covering Overwatch for any chance to break out, and that comes at the risk of utterly destroying my channel in the process. On Twitch, it can get even worse. Twitch does not have all these awesome discovery tools that YouTube has. The only way to ensure growth is by bringing an already existing audience into a different game. You have to be at the top of the search, and the only way to do that is by bringing a lot of viewers. And if those viewers don't care for that game, you'll just end up starting from scratch again and hope for some amount of luck that people discover you via Reddit or whatever else have you. You don't grow on Twitch by using Twitch unless you already have an audience. You are hugely dependent on networking and external advertising. I mean, what do you think why so many people in Apex have TTV in their names. As pathetic as it looks, there really is not a good way to reliably grow on Twitch. I've now spent over a week being sick and my channel has been suffering this month due to a lack of uploads. That obviously makes for a hugely negative impact on my financial situation, and naturally it was not a voluntary break. Twitch is no different. If a streamer is not consistently streaming, then they are going to fall out of favor with their audience. They end up forgotten, they lose viewers and income. It's absolutely akin to a treadmill where a lot of content creators feel like the more time they put into it, the more successful they can get because the effects are immediate. If you stream for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you end up getting 100 more subscribers than if you were to stream for 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, then you immediately getting into a very unhealthy habit of chasing that positive feedback loop. And every time a streamer takes days off, they see their numbers crumble. It really sucks to see as a content creator, and it obviously makes for a negative financial impact, and that's why streamers are so reluctant to take breaks or switch games. It's an incredibly volatile environment. Very few streamers out there have the luxury of being able to play whatever game they want because it is very difficult to grow as a variety channel. You need a consistent viewer base to remain at the top of the search, and it is much more easy to appeal to viewers' interests by only streaming a single game you know they will like. If I watch a stream, I watch it because I like the streamer, but that does not mean that they can make every game interesting to me. And it isn't always their fault. Sometimes it's literally just that I don't care about that game and thus I end up not watching them. And that is just how it works. Yes, the vocal core community often exclaims that they will watch whatever game the creator chooses. But the vast majority of viewers, both on Twitch and YouTube, are people who end up lurking. Yes, Jeremy and Michael, I'm talking to you guys currently playing Classic WoW while having my video in the background. There really is nobody to blame, it's just the reality of how content creation works. So if you ever wondered why your favorite streamer does not just play something else when they get fed up with Overwatch, I hope that you can now understand why. And I guess with that out of the way, I'll be calling it a day. I want to thank everybody so much for watching, and as always, feel free to leave your own thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you guys next time.